You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Chris Gillis. How to navigate conflict, plus the surefire way you can turn off a high-quality guy. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about. We had the end of Love Island. We have the middle or close to the end, weirdly, like how 7 episodes total of The Bachelorette. I'm confused. We have so much to talk about. And Chris Gillis is back from his own luxury cruise ship experience, like Bachelorette on a cruise ship now. And we have a lot to talk about. I binge watched The Bachelorette over the last 4 days to catch up. Watching the end of Love Island is like running the last mile of a marathon. You have to get there. You just have to get there. And when you get there at the end, it was it was really I enjoyed the last little bit. But so we're going to start off talking just about Love Island, wrapping that up. So if you're watching it on Hulu, this is a spoiler alert because we're going to tell you the end. Right. So you'll just want to fast forward to Bachelorette, but hurry up and keep up. Okay. Because, Love Island is going to be on again in January. I don't know if we can commit, but anyway. All right. So let's talk. You should see Chris's face.
Dear
He's
God, no.
Dear God, help me. All right. So Love Island, in the end, what I really like about this show is, and this was a theme that came through at the end in the proposal, the do you want to be my girlfriend speeches and their kind of final dates. But I think Davide and Ekin-Su maybe said it, is when you have this connection with someone, and you have a struggle or you have a hard time or you have a bump in the road that sometimes, or maybe not, maybe it's bad, but there's this issue of does that keep you together? Is that this good thing that keeps you together so you can navigate through the bumps? Right? We could talk about or is that a bad thing that keeps you together when you should probably break up? I don't know. But in this case, I think that with the Casa Amor, that these couples had a lot of challenges and they overcame them. So in the end, do you think that the top 4 couples, I think, were Damian, India, Andrew and Tasha, Davide and Ekin-Su, and then Luke and Gemma. Do you think that those, did it make sense to you why Paige and Adam got voted off? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. What do you think about, did Paige do the right thing? Did she wait long enough? Was that slaggy of her? Did she mug off Jax? And is Jax a piece of shit? I'm confused because I went on the internet. Again, this show, guys, for those who are watching, some people, it just really resonates. Marni and her daughters and her husband, they can enjoyed every 58 hours of the show. And for others like me, I'm also, yes. And also, so I guess before you answer that, what is it? So, me, I'm always like, Marni, you got to watch this. You got to watch this. And you're like, oh, fine. And you're like, okay, yeah, it was okay. Well, what is it about this show that really, they got you guys by the, whatever the British term is, by the pants or whatever it is, that really made you guys lean in?
We fancy it. We fancy it. We do. Well, I think one thing that's really interesting, which was, let's talk about a couple things. I like that they're saying here are these regular people. They're in a social setting. There's other people, and we kind of get to know them as people and see them interact with other people right? Because we talk about like how you are with other people kind of impacts like how someone is with you. I think it's the friendships that are interesting to me. I think that they really do truly care about the friendships that they make, whereas in other shows, it seems kind of fake. And I think
more competitive, right? Yeah, like on Bachelor, like I'm not here to make any friends, or it's the opposite. Okay,
right. It's like
that's not real life.
58 hours of really getting to know these characters, and so I think what I like about it is you're really kind of rooting for people at the end, and they're not really celebrities until that last kind of minute, which is kind of interesting. But I think that in this case, that the things that are the connections of those couples that last through the whole 8 weeks, it shows to me how they actually manage through their conflict. And one of the reasons why I was never a fan of Gemma and Luca is when they would have a conflict, Gemma, even though she's young, was super articulate and would communicate. She also knew like when it was worth arguing over and when it was not. She was good at sticking up for herself. She was good at being compassionate. She'd try and have these conversations with Luca and he'd just be like, "Oh, Jem, fuck off." And he'd walk away, And right. And I think then she would come back and she'd be like, "Oh, like that was silly." Da, da. And he'd look at her and he'd be like, "Oh, I just look at you and you're amazing." And they wouldn't really resolve the issue. And when the others sort of had conflict, they would always speak to the deeper issue. Right. Like it brings up my insecurities and da, 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 da. When you did this, it made me feel like that. And, I used to be a player and now I'm trying to be vulnerable. So I think that it did some great examples of how you can resolve conflict. Can you build back trust?
Yeah.
Right. There's some pretty big breaks of trust.
I want to say also that I too, since, I was never, I get it. Gemma was pretty. She looks gorgeous in sunglasses for some reason. She's like the best sunglasses human I've ever seen. It's so pretty in sunglasses. The weirdest thing ever. I too was never, there was something odd that just bugged me and rubbed me. And I think it's because at least in American society and all the reality dating TV shows, it's all about trying to get there and give up your V card. And she was just so always awesomely, but not awesome for a relationship and power. And I think that's probably a common, theme for a lot of single daters out there. And she was just so strong and so smart. Like you said, she's years beyond her, 19 years old. I cannot believe she's like the oldest 19-year-old I've ever met. But I did get that sense that she was always in control. And so what I thought was interesting, and I like how they switch around and recouple without, getting married to the first person, is it just because, you can be with somebody and they're attractive at the communication, how, like you pointed out, how you resolve problems, even though there's not a ton of problems going on in that place to make it pretty frictionless. But they couldn't even get over the little things. They would just find like, oh, okay, fuck it. It's just, brush it aside. And, and also good to note when they tell each other, "Oh, fuck off, cunt," it doesn't mean the same thing in their English that it does in ours.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. And so it's interesting. There's the other thing, everyone loves, the internet loves Davide and Ekin-Su because they have these big fiery communication, like arguments. And then they could sit down and like have some carbonara and talk it out and then laugh. And so they're really good. One of the things they talk about in the Gottman Institute about repairing conflict is making a bid, right? A bid for like affection, a bid for like playfulness, like let's not make this a thing. And I think Davide and Ekin-Su are really good at that, right? Like they'll be in an argument and then he'll kind of look at her and then she'll just break into a laugh, right? And they're like, "Oh, this is so silly." And because they're both like, she's Turkish, he's Italian, I think there's this fiery playfulness thing that is in their culture that is that can work for them. Do you know what I mean? There's this like, rah, and then like, let's just eat and laugh and move on. And I like that about them, if they can sustain it.
So while you were binging Bachelor, I was like, oh fuck! I really realized there was one more episode left, and like you said, in the end, I cannot cross the goddamn finishing line. So I was literally in bed, lights were off, and I pulled out my phone, like the worst thing you can do for sleep hygiene, and I had to watch the final episode. And I watched it. I went to sleep. I woke up middle of the night, and I had that same aha. That's so weird. I was like grinding it away. I was like, what is it about Ekin-Su and Davide? Because she is a little shit, as am I, by the way. So nothing wrong with it. She's a super entertaining, a little always starting something and keeping it going. But yeah, I love how kind of what we're talking about to call back that he's so good at. She's always like sparking and trying to like light little fires, and he's this little fire extinguisher. Like, nope. And he does it he does it so calmly, and he doesn't get emotionally engaged and pick up on when she starts, calling crisis. The sky's falling down. He just kind of looks at her, and he has that little smirk and that smile, and then just. By the way, I just finished the Gottman's book as well, the 7 rules on principles on marriage.
Oh yeah,
whatnot, and so good. And yeah, he does talk about that, and you're 100% right. She is so good at. He'll just sit there, not engage, but not discount, but just kind of look at her and just without saying anything, just kind of allow her the space to kind of throw her a little tantrum and give a little smirk, a little cute little smirk. Then you're right. She gives that offer and throws that bid out. His bid is like, I'm not blaming you for it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just going to sit here and like wait for you to get done. And then she sees it and she realizes, she puts down her matches and she runs back to him, jumps in, and he forgives her immediately. They don't have grudges. He doesn't beat her up for it.
They're just so cute. Right? Yeah, it's really, really great. And I have to say, like in the transformation of the evolution of what it's like to really date someone in real life, I feel like Davide and Ekin-Su were really like that. Like he was very reserved, very reserved, very reserved. They built up trust. They had some communication. Her words and actions matched over time.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then like this guy is like smitten with her. Like at the end when they were at the just little kiss and the way he'd like grab her like playfully. I was like, they are really cute. I really am rooting for them. And I think Andrew and Tasha, I literally cried during the speech when this was really cool when he was like, I fell in love with you and you shared it with me about your superpower. And she has a cochlear implant so that she can hear. And she said, when you take out my implant at night, I knew that I could trust you, right? Yeah. Because that's so vulnerable. Like she basically can't hear, right? Without that thing. She's like trusting herself. That's physical vulnerability, right? To be with somebody in this bed when you can't hear. And I really feel like they also did a great job of repairing trust, building a connection. And
it was messier too than I appreciate, because I think they were a more look, we're not all gonna get this perfect a lineup. It's like landing a battle, like an airplane on a battleship. Their alignment wasn't. They had to go back and do a couple of repasses a few times during the show, and it was kind of annoying me for a while. I'm like, oh my god, they're so insecure and blah. And they were both like crying and they couldn't figure things out. And but they kept fighting for each other, and they finally kind of got to. And I think it's so easy, right, in relationships early on to when you really like somebody, but just to blow them off and blow up about something because they hurt you so bad, and then not be able to actually get to, like you said, the vulnerability, like, oh, I was just feeling this way or scared or whatever it is. But they finally got there, and it was such a relief. And then you see how much love was behind those tears of anger, whatnot. But you're right. But they got there in a healthy way without ever saying anything to truly blow up the bridge. They definitely, chipped away at it a bunch of times, but they didn't completely obliterate it.
I like the way they were able to forgive each other and then be able to kind of, again, rebuild that connection. The last thing I want to say, and then we'll talk about the Bachelorette too, is for me, the thing that struck me with Tasha was like, she really struggled with letting go of her identity. I mean, I'm making up the story, right? But I imagine this girl who's maybe awkward. She can't hear. She has to really work extra hard to fit in, to belong. She's probably got insecurities, right? And then she's super sexy and super hot. She's a dancer. And she has this identity of like, oh, I'm this like party girl, right? Like outside here, I'm, like I'm fiery, I'm playful, I'm bubbly, I'm like a dancer, I'm sexy. And she comes in with Andrew, and what does Adam call himself? Bit of a wet wipe. She's just sort of like mushy and soft. And she's really struggling with like letting herself be who she really is and letting down her guard. Yeah. And I think that's part of when these other guys are flirting with her. She is interested in that because the old part of her is like, wait, guys like me, guys like me, guys like me. Like still trying to fit that wounding of not being able to belong. But because of the context of the 8 weeks and because Andrew really fought for her, and he's unconditional, it's unwavering, she's able to actually be who she really is and not need that external validation anymore, and just realize that maybe the guy with a little less swag and a little soft and, a little sweet and a good guy, letting him in her life and like being that truer self. I thought that was a pretty big transformation for Tasha.
Yeah, it is pretty remarkable that just to sit back and observe. And for you guys out there in listener land, you're like, well, Jesus, why is love so hard? Like, it took a lot to get these people. I mean, they literally had to stay in the same, 200-foot vicinity. And whereas in real life, we have so many chances to give up and walk away, where they had to, wait until, they still see him around and still see him around or whatnot. So, how much perseverance and patience and growing and luck, to say it, is involved in to make a relationship work.
And I have to say this, one of the things I thought was really, really cool. So Paige is with Adam, the parents come, and the mom is like, I don't really like this guy you're with. I like the other guy. And did you catch that part? Yeah. So Paige's mom is like, yeah, Adam, I don't buy it. Like, he's a player. I think Jax was really into you and you were more playful and more bubbly. And what I really loved was Paige. This is a great example of setting a loving boundary. She was like, yeah, Mom, I really appreciate that. I was that way with Jax, and that was really fun. But there were some things he did that weren't okay. And Adam is chilled and, he really gets me and he really treats me well. And there's just no drama. And in the interview after, she says, I wasn't surprised that my mom had her comment, right? Meaning this mom's probably pretty critical of her daughter, and she's able to just say, you know what? I got this. Thank you for your input. And she just sort of changed the subject. And I think that's a really important thing, because when you're out there dating, there may be people who want you consistently to be unhappy. And so they'll judge or criticize your choices. And I think having healthy boundaries is a really important thing, and trusting your gut. And so I like the way she didn't go and be like, oh no, my mom's criticizing Adam. Like, maybe we're not good together. And so I thought she did a really great job of that.
Without feeling, because otherwise, right, we always talk about how, oh yeah, and it sounds hypocritical a little bit. So I guess we should clarify, because you and I are always talking about the weight of choosing having a good reference corner and people, and talking to people who do know you. But that's where you're very astute to point out. Same thing goes with jobs and careers. And people will kind of, if they're feeling small, they'll pull you down to, if they're single or whatever, to keep you in that lane. So good on her for, because that could be scary, because you're like, wait a second, maybe I'm really not, a butterfly yet. Maybe I still am this, caterpillar, and I don't have these wings. And that was big of her to point that out. Yeah.
So we'll have to check in like 8 weeks, and we'll see who's still together. So.
Well, yes. That's what I was going to ask you. Well, okay. What are your thoughts? Who is out of the 4 finalists? Oh, and even Paige and Adam. Yeah. What is your take?
I think Paige and Adam are going to stay together. I think Paige and Adam are, I do. I mean, I think they're going to date. I think they're going to see how it really goes. But I believed him when he said like he's ready to settle down. I mean, I think he's like 27 or 28 before he was like 24 or 25. Yeah. I think Jem and Luca, no way. Although you never know. I don't know. Dami and India, I don't know. Dami is not like my fave. And I totally think Davide and Akinsu will be together, as will Tasha and Andrew. I don't know.
Got it.
What about you?
I would say, I still feel kind of confused on I didn't see the whole Jax thing. Maybe I was watching too quick and about why he was such a terrible guy. I don't know. He seemed like a lad's lad, I suppose. I'm not sure. So I don't know. I can't speak on the Adam Collard thing. He's a stud on there. Dami, I consider dating for a little while. I give it 6 months. I would give 3 months to Gemma. I think Gemma, Luca, and I think Andrew and Tosh, I can see them for like, I thought they were going to win, to be honest with you.
I really did too.
Okay, yeah. Well, I thought they were going to win. Their communication, they came a long place. So I would say, those two, and then Davide and Ekansu for 6 months to a year and a half, and then not longer than that. Now,
I don't know. I think Ekansu's going to like marry that boy, and they're going to have babies, and I don't know, but maybe not, because apparently they have all these offers already out there for like TV shows and spinoffs and
babies,
all that. I love it. I saw Raina sent me one little meme, and it was so cute, and it was like a picture of a guy like crying in bed, and he was like, "I can't believe it's the last time I'm going to hear Davide say naturally." And naturally. Anyway, we're gonna miss it, but my schedule is gonna be freed up. Okay, let's talk about Bachelorette.
Changing gears.
Oh my God! I mean, first of all, I wish Dr. Emily was on here, because we were talking before about like, dear please God, change up the fucking format, do something of this show. Like, oh my God! So they did, and I think it's totally juicy, and I want to talk about. And hopefully y'all are following along. But I want you all to see this, because Gabby, I'd say, is less traditionally like sexy, like beautiful, like, she's no bombshell, right? But she's really pretty. She's cute. She's got a smoking bod, and she's got this bubbly personality. But this girl has been working on herself, clearly, and she's got a level of confidence that is way more foundational than Rachel, who is literally a freaking mess. I don't know about you, but when I was watching this last episode, by like the third time, where she was like, "I'm out."
Yes.
And then she's like, "Oh my God, it's amazing," because a guy, said, "You're pretty and I like you." I was literally like, "Oh my God, stop now. Go to therapy. You shouldn't be dating."
Yeah.
Seriously need to do some work, because her self-worth is 100% dependent upon men wanting her. She doesn't give a shit that there's two guys that are like super into her. She wants to be popular. She wants to feel like, she has power. Like, it's insane. She says even, "I felt more confident when Colton or Clayton or whatever the fuck his name was pursuing me than being the Bachelorette." I think she had like all this magic attached to it, which is why she dissed that one guy, like after one date.
So crazy.
She was like, "I'm so popular. They're all going to want me. Oh, you're out." I don't know. So what do you think? So who to you right now, like, who's dating the best? Who is like leaking the most? Like, what can the listeners learn about like how to date, be a better dater from these two ladies?
I think the awesome take home potential message is that, no matter how much trauma that we haven't gone through, that doesn't mean, and there's times when we're like, oh my gosh, doubting ourselves and questioning ourselves like Gabby does. And it's easy to, I guess, especially if you're like growing up, not having and being judged or not being loved, you can be like, oh crap, I must not be lovable. But it's so interesting. And I just to really show the power of therapy and working on yourself and programs can do to a person, because in the end, even though it starts off like the episode before where Gabby's like, shit, maybe I'm just not good enough. Maybe I'm not meant to be loved. And this is so scary. So she has her doubts, and you're like, okay, yeah, come on, cheering for it. I can see, we can all see why she would have that with the estrangement of her and her mom and these mixed messages. And you're like, okay, that's perfectly normal. And then you go and see, Rachel, the next episode, falling apart. And she does have, she comes in outwardly seeming like she's got it all together and has all the foundational things that she needs. But it's encouraging to see that, that sometimes, building you can still build your own foundation up. And so when the waves get scary and you still stand nice and firm, it's not over, right? It's not over. Don't give up. So if the people who is easy, like, maybe it's just not for me. I just didn't have the right upbringing to show that with a ton of work, which I'm getting the impression at first I wasn't so sure. Then now Gabby's opening up and talking about all the work she's done in therapy that she continues to do. You can see her getting there, and that's awesome. Versus, it's easy for us to see people like, oh, there's naturals. No, naturals, you can be doing kicking ass a lot better than naturals. They just probably don't talk about it. They're not as aware of what their struggles are yet as clear as like Gabby is. And it's easy to convey it for Gabby as it is way easier than Rachel.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like Gabby has resilience, so she can feel shitty and have self-doubt. But like we see one of her dates, she goes to a sound bath. She's clearly very comfortable, like setting an intention. Like I think they show her in one of her little morning moments where she looks like she might be meditating.
Yes.
She's sitting outside. I think that she has resilience. And I think that Rachel's parents say, are you sure you should go on this show? Like, do you think you can handle the emotions of this? My guess is she has a history of being less steadfast and resilient. And, when she talks about her career and being a pilot, she's super confident. The minute, she starts to see that no one's noticing her, she really
takes guys to a boxing match and they look at the fucking boxing match and she's surprised that they're looking at the boxing match and not her. Dude, it's not even your date. What in the world?
I'm glad you put that in our notes for the show today, because I was watching that and I was like, one thing what she said is like, everything is a moment, blah, blah, blah. But what's interesting to me, because I think about myself, I'm a rule follower, right? So like, unless the rules are clearly stated, like you can go talk to this person or you can walk over here or you guys, you don't have to stay in this area. I would just be doing that. If I saw the Bachelor sitting over there, this is who I am. I'm not the person who goes like, fuck it. Like, let them tell me to like, go back to my seat. I stand there and I'm just wondering, was it because they were all like, you guys are going to stand here, that they weren't even paying attention. They didn't, because in the room when they're discussing it, they're like, oh, we haven't seen Rachel in so long. And they're like, well, except for today. And they're like, yeah, but it's almost like there was some sort of messaging around like, or a rule about like, you can or cannot go talk to her. And I wonder if there was an expectation that she had that the guys were told something different to set something up. I don't know. What do you think?
I think,
I don't know.
No, it's Emily, I'd explain this to Emily as well. Fighting is completely envelops a guy's psyche. I think it's like, it's our DNA and we're like, whoa, must watch. And especially you're seeing people, fight. Although it was a fairly tame fight, they didn't let anybody kick the shit out of each other, but it was a fight nonetheless. And that's, as a guy, you can't turn your eyes away from that because you need to make sure for protection reasons, for all sorts of interesting things, where I stand in the pecking order, where I think I could. That's what it makes 100% sense. You can't put men watching other men fight each other and expect them to all of a sudden switch over to that love gear. No, those are two different tracks, Marni.
Our friend Matt Boggs talks about the apartments. Like men have apartments, right? They're like they're in the love apartment, they're in the work apartment, they're in the like 100%. Boxing apartment.
Yeah, boxing.
Yeah, like those guys were in there and she goes, look at Tino. He's like jumping up and down. He's like excited, right? He's like, they're watching. Yeah. And those guys are like, oh, I hope our date's something competitive like that. Do you think that Rachel did the right thing? Like she gets upset because they're not talking to her. And then she's like, oh, and then she just storms in there in her little crop top and she's just, and she goes like, you guys, you didn't give me attention. And I expected more from you. And, you picked me and show me that you care. And then she doesn't even give pause. Then she just turns around and walks out. And they're all like, what the fuck? What do you think about? Because I'm like, she's expressing her needs. That's good. Yeah. But then I was like, is it? I don't know.
I think she ran out of gas and she realized that her needs wasn't really, it's between expressing needs, just kind of throwing like a little temper tantrum. And she did that. And she realizes she's in her jams and yelling, was crying. I think she kind of gets the emotions out. all right, and then it's like, oh, I got to go in the middle of the pool and like heads back. And I think that is what I wanted to also point out, which is encouraging about, your clients. And, I know you have done it. I've done it. People who really done that inner work, that just goes to show how it's another example of how beautiful that Gabby is getting there. It's soothing and taking care of herself and her own, her fears and her child, like she talks about. And she's able to not have, she definitely has moments where she cries, but instead of falling into a puddle or laying down the couch sideways like Rachel's doing and sobbing, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep saying over and over again, I can't. Oh my God,
I'm done.
That's a scary thing. I'm done. Guys, ladies, don't you can't say that to your guys because we're already scared as it is. And thank God, they're not all watching. That's freaky. And she even threatened it when she kind of marked out there again. Whereas I think, that's beautiful. So that how, we're seeing Gabby, they'll both start to crumble, but Gabby will, drop to one knee and pull herself back, whereas Rachel will kind of fall down and not be able to pick herself back up it takes a while and tears and, having to dump it out on everybody. I feel like she's just kind of figuring out why she's mad. We're like seeing the evolution, the growth of Rachel, whereas Gabby's more in the heart of it and harder on herself.
Yeah, I think, because so what's interesting is that I interviewed this woman named Laura Doyle once, who's like a relationship expert, and she talked about staying on your own page. And what I think that Gabby does is like, she's like, oh, this is my issue. Like, we don't see this, but my guess, she's like, I'm feeling insecure. I have this issue that I'm not good enough for love. I need to like resource myself. She goes back and she's really intentional. Like, I'm with, can't remember his name. I need to have a deeper conversation with him. Jason,
right? The really quiet, shy guy.
Attention. She gives him space to talk. God, that guy was so uncomfortable. It was so cute. It was so endearing. He played his V card, his vulnerability card. They totally connect. And for Rachel, I think happens in real life. When one is so needy, like, I need attention. I need affection. I need to know where you stand. I need to know you like me. And it causes these dramatic moments. I'm wondering if the guys on Team Rachel are like, because they're like afraid of her. Like, she had a really bad week. We need to keep her happy. We need to.
Dude.
And it's like, is that attractive? Like, is that the girl you want to marry? I don't know.
No. And that reminds me, one of my exes where I felt too like I was constantly, sacrificing and throwing, pork chops to the lion because he was so hungry. And it wasn't because it wasn't where you said, I like the word you said, how Gabby's able to self-resource herself. And she's like, I'm feeling a certain way. It doesn't feel good. And then go off to figure out and soothe herself to get there. And I think what's also worth noting is the guys like this, just Jason guy, who at first, because he's so quiet and shy, I think it's very easy to discount a person like that because he's not fawning all over you and dropping you and making sure you're just buckets of compliments.
Right.
So you're, oozing with all these gratitude. I'm so blessed to be here and blah, 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 reassurance. But I think it is cool. Chris, I was like, what the heck? Why is Gabby? This guy is just boring. It's like watching paint dry. But then you see him, but I think it's really cool. Like Gabby, like you mentioned, the meditation thing a second ago, she said she's comfortable in the silence because she's a talker and she doesn't see it as he's not, I must not be enough. Right. Whereas, that a guy like that wouldn't work. And wouldn't work for Rachel. So I think it's important for those of you out there, if you're dating Mr.
quiet guy,
quiet dude, maybe you don't need to fill every word, or if you just maybe sit back and notice, well, what am I feeling that's making this awkward, right?
Yeah, and she did such a great job of acknowledging and validating him. I'm like, I totally 100%. Understand. She made him comfortable to share. And I think that's the other thing is that when you are dating someone and you have an instinct, like they're good on paper, there's a lot of things you like about them, to give them the space to feel comfortable rather than saying like, it was a bad date. Oh, he was boring. Oh, he didn't ask me anything about myself. To really just create the intention in the space of like, wow, I really want to get to know this person. I want to have a deeper conversation and have that patience and create that space. Because if someone's nervous system is dysregulated and they feel comfortable and awkward, and you have the energy of like, show me you're amazing, prove to me who you are, that's not going to make them open up.
No.
And so I just think like the way they're even showing up on the dates to create that space. The last thing I want to say is this about her.
Real quick, I want to jump in there and say, also, I loved how she didn't make her wording was very good when she was inquiring about his quietness, and it's very easy to tease or poke fun or be like, oh man, you're Mr. Shy Boy, aren't you, or whatever, to say something to get the person defensive. But Gabby was truly curious, and she's like, I noticed, she's like, that's my guy. I noticed, you're a man of few words. Can you tell me about that? And he sat there and paused. I'm like, oh God, it's gonna be. And I was actually, because I can struggle with silence. I talk way too much, I'm sure. And I was like, man, this guy's awkward. And then all of a sudden, she gave him this space, and he got out there, and like you said, he danced beautifully, and he showed who he is. And I learned so much about him and the depths and the layers that he has. I'm like, wow, actually, I was completely wrong. I filled in what I, pictured to be, an empty space. I colored it in with my own opinions of him before, instead of just being truly curious like she did and just giving him that pause and that break to express who he is and what he's about. And then you see so many things that they have in common. I thought that was really big of her.
Yeah, I thought that was great. That was really great. The other thing that I just want to point out that I think is important for all of you who are listening is a Rachel problem, is that, like, she's so focused on who doesn't like her that she's forgetting that Tino's like falling in love with her, basically, is what he said. And then that other guy, what's the other guy that's really into her? Oh, that adorable little guy who's like, I'm going to cook for you and clean for you. And
God, the guy I was laughing
I love that guy. He's like
himself in as a slave.
That because he's like, yeah, but he was sort of like the beta guy, right? Like, I love
total
that.
Beta.
He's like, I just want to like be there for you. You're my queen. Like a total, like
enabler, Marni. He's going to be an enabler.
I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know about that. But what I like is that she's not there's like two, like you only need one, honey. There's two guys that are really, really, really like interested in her. Does she even really give a shit about the other guys, or does she just want to be popular? And I think that when people are dating, they forget about the guys who are interested in them because of that one guy that's not returning their text. And so I think it's really important when you are dating to remember, like, to think about, like, there's a guy who likes me. Why am I sabotaging? Am I ignoring? Is he the quiet guy that like, there's no danger? So I'm like, not putting attention on that? Should I get to know that? Should I look at myself? And I really want to point that out, because in the end, you only need one person. And so you're continually focusing on what's not working or what you're not getting. You can miss like a great opportunity. And because of that and how it's impacting your low self-esteem, she's coming off as dramatic and needy and all that stuff. And I don't want that to turn off Tino or anyone else who's possibly interested in her. But she's a lot.
I know. I started off and was like, okay, if you had to pick one, who would it be? And I was like, and by the way, Emily thinks that she sees through. I also agree with you. And I thought, oh, Gabby, she's quirky and she's this. And I was like, but she wouldn't be sexy. She would eventually drive me nuts. But then now after, we get to see these people evolve, and or at least what the show is showing us, then after I was like, no, Rachel would be better. And I'm like, no, get me away from, she's like fire now and like scaring me. I'm like, oh God, I would hate to constantly be that one. Yeah, I don't, to have to be an indentured servant to her like that one guy professed he would do forever, give her whatever she needs, and just really soothe her and be her, her on-call emotional doctor. Versus,
that's definitely not attractive. Okay, let me just see if there's anything else. Oh, you said that Rachel was good at flirting with guys. I'm like,
oh my
really?
God, yes, the internet. Okay, is Reddit is obsessed, and I'm like, and I said this actually before. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I was like, maybe Marni doesn't know what I mean by flirting. She is very good, we'll say, at creating, I'll just be specific, like creating getting up in their face and creating like sexual desire. And even the way she kisses, like super like porny. She's like all in there.
I always like, I don't look at that part.
I know. But remember we watched it. You were doing that as well when we were watching together. You're like, stop chewing his face off so much. And she's really good at just like having these giant doe eyes. But now that the internet is saying, oh, it's like flirting, to the internet people. But yeah, so it sounds like you think that's not the exact word, but she's really good at getting sexual. I don't know, getting.
I don't know. I think she's good at. She's a great first date.
Yeah, she's gonna make out with you at least.
She's a great first date, and she'll, oh my god, and then if you don't call her back, and the next day she's gonna send you the text of like, oh, why didn't you call me? Hey, do you want to go out tonight? Like, I don't think she has great. Okay, so my cringiest moments of this episode. Episode 4, that whole like
have to say it.
French tit kissing I couldn't watch that. The French kissing their hands. I was so horrified.
Yes.
The smell your armpit thing.
Dude, I would be so sweaty, by the way, Marni. If I had to do a fucking weird, all that awkward stuff on camera, I would be covered in sweat. Yeah. And then to have somebody have to smell my armpit afterwards, that is just cruel and unusual punishment.
It was a lot, and I just. Yeah, do better, producers. You're not setting Rachel up to win at all. And then the other thing, obvious, like that guy Hayden. I mean, he should have never been there. He clearly, like, after I saw the whole thing about his dog, I'm like, this guy doesn't even want to be there. He's looking for reasons to leave. He's like talking about his ex. I don't know why he didn't just go and be like, I need to leave. I'm not attracted to either one of these women. I need to go. My dog is sick.
Yeah. And then he takes his dog's fucking cancer duck thing too. Like that's like the internet's like, that is the cruelest. This guy should not be allowed to live. He took his dog's dying and he took his dog's favorite toy away from him. You're like, what's wrong with you, bro?
Yeah. But the good thing is what I liked is, so here's the thing I liked.
Rambo deserves better.
Yeah. But what I liked about Hayden is when he was asked to leave, he did not get defense. He did not need to say, I was going to leave anyway because I'm not interested in you. Mm-hmm. He could have said that, but he just was like, he did not say that. And I give him credit for that. Yeah. Because he already said some not very nice things. So I think he was like, you know what? This isn't my person. I don't need to add fuel to the fire. I'm going to take my ducky and go home to Rambo. And I wish them both the best. He probably should never have been there in the first place. I don't think he really wanted to be there. And then the last thing is, before we end for today.
You are just marching through this, Marni.
I know. Well, it was so good. I mean, this is the best Bachelor season ever.
Do you think? Never quit.
Do you think? No, never quit. Do you think that Logan did the right thing by accepting the rose? Should he have said, "I can't accept this rose"? I mean, he would have been done, but he wanted to go because that's like where the gameplay that they made it more of a game this season. So, do you think that Logan is a douchebag, or do you think he didn't get a chance to talk to her? She ended the cocktail party. What he's worried. Because he doesn't want to hurt her feelings. But like, he needs to be honest. She needs to suck it up, Buttercup. So I don't know. What do you think about Logan?
I think that, as damned if he does, then we did either way. And producers are so good about making, stuff hard and awkward unnecessarily. And I think that, I think Emily disagrees with me, but I think he did the right things. If he really does think that there's a connection and he's like really consistent, and it's not just because he wants more TV time, then I think he did the right thing because he would have been eliminated, and then fucking Rachel would have had a meltdown if he would have said, "Hey, can I talk to you?" She would have came crying, and Gabby would have been all trying to stick with her girl because she doesn't know him yet. So they put him in a tough spot with that sweet mullet of his. So I think in the end, he made the right call.
Yeah, I mean, if he has good intention because he's been trying to talk to her. I would like for him to, after the rose ceremony, do one of those little things where after it's over, he goes and like knocks on Gabby's door. Like if I could say like the Logan of my dreams would be like, okay, it's over. They do the little scene where he knocks on the door. I really like you.
Yeah.
And then if she says, well, I'm not, then he goes to Rachel and he exits.
So, hey, yeah, like if Meatball can do it, why not Logan, baby?
Yeah,
Remember Meatball?
Exactly. Meatball, he gets a second chance.
And he got a second. Let's real quick. What do you think about? Is it possible to date a guy's friend? You know, if you're dating a guy, because they didn't get much chance to really differentiate and learn between Rachel and Gabby. Gabby is like a day or 2 or 3 or whatever it was, and I do hear about that quite often. I have friends who are married to their best friends' ex-girlfriends. What's your thoughts on making that? Is it something you do? Are there too many fish in the sea to worry about, or how?
I think you can do it. I mean, look, if we can end by going back to Love Island, and India's dating Akenna, right?
Yeah.
And him and Dami are close, right? And in the end, you know, it worked out because they didn't have to do the confrontation because they got voted off. But basically, they were interested in each other, and she was dating his dude, you know? And so I think sometimes that just happens. I think it's how you do it, obviously. And it's about being honest. It's about being upfront. It's about, you know, not playing it like a game. Like, oh, if she doesn't like me, well, then I'll just stay with this girl. It's about being like, I'm not interested in you. I'm interested in her. If she's not interested in me, then I'm going to peace out. You know, it's not about like trying to play both sides. So
I'm reading an interesting book right now called Wanting, about the science of mimetics, MIMETICS, I believe. And yeah, about how much we are influenced by even Jerry Seinfeld does the opposite in one of the Seinfeld episodes where a girl he's dating, he really likes her a lot. And then he finds out that Newman was dating her. Then he's like, oh, I can't do it. And, you know, he starts having all these second thoughts. And then even worse, he finds out Newman broke up with her. And so I want nothing part of this club. And so then he has to break up for it. But it's easy. Yeah. How we get, like you said, it's so easy to take things personally and it's, oh, I must not be enough. Whereas, you know, because he wants to date my friend instead of me versus, like you mentioned with Love Island, like, oh, it's just a better match. And like I kind of alluded to in the very beginning, there is you do have to talk to a lot of people. And that's what's cool about the Love Island thing. And what's tough from the male's perspective in the Bachelorette, because they have so few options. In this case, only 2 of them. But yeah, it does take a lot of luck and a lot of dating. And I think that's why we're here right now. And you just usually you're not going to, you know, pick that first person and knock it out the park to really have fun with it and not take stuff personally and not, take it home.
And that's why, I mean, really, literally, like shameless plug, when we work with people, our whole thing is we're going to make you rejection proof. Not that you're not going to have people say you're not in that match, but you're not going to experience it as a rejection. Because Rachel is showing us a real life of why you all are like, you know, fuck this, deleting Hinge, getting off net. You're like, I'm done. I'm not doing it again. Right. And then you see a cute guy or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, this guy asked me for my number last night. Okay, I am dating. And then you're like, no, fuck that. He didn't know. And that's horrible. And you shouldn't have to do that. And so being rejection proof is key. Well,
and rejection is such a big word. Does that mean it's like, because you're not saying you're not going to get rejected, but you're going to be, you're not going to turn into that crying puddle on the floor, right? From not being chosen. And not being a match, right?
Yes, exactly. So I think there's like 5 or 6 guys left on each team, so to speak.
Yeah, quick,
I feel like it's real quick. So I don't know how many episodes there are left, but we will be talking about Bachelorette exclusively now for the rest of the season, just in time. You know, then we'll have Bachelor in Paradise. So much more Bachelor Nation love to come. Thank you for being part of our little transition here as we got through Love Island and that experiment and all of the other shows that we've been talking about over the last 3 or 4 months. But we are back. Chris, thank you. I love you. This was amazing. I can hardly wait for next week. And I never thought I'd say that about Bachelorette.
Ti amo, as Davide says.
Ti amo.
Reserved for the special one.
Ladies, whatever you do, don't be a puddle on the floor. Damn life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Batista, and let's talk soon.